for a trick that threatens to reveal the masked magician's true identity. Here's the setup. One of his assistants plays the role of the executioner. The magician must escape from the bag before the executioner removes his mask and reveals his identity to the entire world. Could this be the trick that ruins the masked magician's career? First, the magician's hands are bound. Then the executioner blindfolds him and places him into the bag. Next, he is positioned behind a three-sided enclosure. The bag is pulled tight and locked. The doors are closed and the clasps are tied. Now the executioner puts on her hood. She moves all the way around the enclosure. Even though dressed as the executioner, she's still required to dance. Just part of the job. The executioner opens the doors and reveals that the magician is still trapped inside. Will he manage to escape before being unmasked? The doors are closed and secured. The executioner moves around the enclosure one more time. Then she opens the doors again. Time to pull off the magician's mask. But wait, that's the executioner. Then who's under the hood? You guessed it. The masked magician. What a surprise. How did he do it? First of all, when the trick begins, a second assistant is already hiding behind the enclosure as it is rolled onto the stage. The assistant is also dressed in an executioner's robe and hood. But that's not all that's hidden behind the enclosure. There's another executioner's robe and hood, as well as a second magician's mask hanging on the back door. You'll find out why in a minute. Out front, the executioner puts on her hood and begins to dance around back. That's where the first switch happens. The executioner removes her hood, while the second assistant takes her place and dances around to the front. Meanwhile, the magician is still locked inside. He unhooks a secret link in his chains so he can free himself from the bag and trade places with the executioner. The executioner grabs the second magician's mask and through a secret back door switches places with the magician. Once inside, the executioner puts on the magician's mask. While all this is happening, the second assistant is out front creating a diversion with a dagger. This gives the executioner enough time to finish putting on the magician's mask and get inside the bag. When the doors are open for the first time, the audience has no idea that a switch has been made. They don't realize that the original executioner is now in the bag pretending to be the magician, while the second assistant is now disguised as the executioner. Meanwhile, the magician is hiding behind the enclosure, putting on the black robe and hood so he will look like the executioner. Now, the second assistant moves behind the enclosure and hands the dagger to the magician. The magician picks up where the second assistant left off and continues around to the front. He opens the doors. The audience thinks it's our magician who's about to be unmasked. But we know better. The mask is removed, revealing the original executioner inside the bag. And with his identity still a secret, it's none other than the masked magician.